Dear subscribers, as you know, we shared many information for you, and we are studying very hard to find current news for you. However, I cannot use this channel for future. Please follow our new channel called as Daily News Report and watch our video to support us. Link in description. Also, you can reach the video we shared on Daily News Report by clicking on the top right button. We highly recommend watching, subscribing and sharing. We will continue to share some news on this channel, but we take precautions against some situations for future. Thank you for supporting us.
Before the break, we were talking about financial warfare that is already being committed against Iran in Jim Rickards' view. Now let's talk about what would happen if there were actual warfare. Because first I want to know, obviously you have GOP saber rattling and some of these reports that there will be an attack. Do you think there will be some kind of actual armed conflict or airstrikes with Iran? And does it matter who's president, or is this going to happen regardless?
I think it's likely to happen regardless. The thing is, Lauren, the main thing is to make sure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. So that's the starting place for all the analysis. So how do you stop them? Well, the first way we tried was diplomacy, which has failed. I mean, the Bush administration, Obama administration tried very hard at diplomacy, but it didn't work because the Iranians were not bargaining in good faith. The second thing which we're seeing play out is psychological operations, cyber warfare, sabotage, assassination. That's been going on for years. Been fairly effective at disrupting things, but hasn't really stopped the Iranians in their tracks. The third way is regime change. We talked a little bit about that before the break, and this whole
the U.S. is going for it.
Going for it, and absolutely. And look, no one worries that India has nuclear weapons because it's a democracy and it's moderate. So it's as much about the regime as it is about the weapons. If you get regime change. But that probably won't happen. They're completely ruthless. So the fourth way is war. So nobody wants it. Nobody wants to see it happen. But it does seem likely because the Iranians are not backing away from this nuclear program. Then the question is timing. If you wait till 2013, it's too late. The Iranians will test the device in all likelihood before then. You're not going to see it on the eve of the presidential elections. It looks a little hokey. You're not going to see it before March because we want to see how the elections play out. There's a lot of intelligence content in the election results. So that leaves a window of kind of May to August. And I don't know what the secret war plans are, but that's when I would look for it, sometime in the June, July timeframe.
Great. We're going to have war with Iran and quantitative easing.
Well, they may not be unrelated. Look, if oil goes to 300, you're going to need some quantitative easing.
And that's my question, okay? We've had a lot of predictions of what happens if there is any kind of conflict with Iran. $250 a barrel oil is what I've heard from one analyst. Rubini says we'd have a global recession. What would be the impact of on any global recovery or on a global recession if there was any kind of conflict with Iran?
Well, I think there's a very famous general, and a German general in World War I. He said, no battle plan survives the first shot. You may think you know what's going to happen, and yeah, you do the best you can to model it, but the truth is you're just playing wild cards at that point. So, of course, we would expect the price of oil to go up significantly, but a lot of people take a naive view of what would happen in the Straits of Hormuz. Say the Iranians close it, and they'll say, well, the U.S. will clean it up in a day. It might not be a day. It might be a month. I mean, that's the kind of thing, or we could lose a vessel, sadly. I mean, a lot of things could play out in unexpected ways. There's a lot of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Well, guess what? There's a lot of Hezbollah in South America. They could find their way to the United States. You might see General Clapper was warning the other day about domestic Iranian-backed terrorism in the United States. So there could be shocks and disruption that are not on anybody's radar screen. I don't think all this is fully priced in the market. Look, people understand it. We're talking about it and others are talking about it. But markets are sometimes slow to react, so this is not fully priced.
Interesting. And what about what we were talking about with financial warfare? Do you actually think that there could be a blowback in the form of countries just moving away from the U.S. dollar?
Right, it's starting already, partly because of Bernanke's policies. You know, when you can't have a strong national security without a strong dollar. We've been printing so many dollars and trying to cheapen our currency. The countries have already started to think about getting out of the dollar system. Now we're giving them another reason, which is we're using it as a weapon. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that because we need to confront the Iranian regime. But the Iranians, there's some reports that they're talking to the Indians about doing a gold for oil swap. There's a lot of gold in India, so that actually is feasible. It's interesting that the Saudi Arabians have stepped up to supply the oil shortfall to China. So if China can't have Iranian oil, they'll get it from the Saudi Arabians. But what about the Indians? They need oil too. They're kind of like out in the cold. So they're talking to the Indians, rather. So the Indians are talking to the Iranians. China may get in the act. I could see a Russian, Chinese, Indian, Iranian, Central Asian clearinghouse that would be non-dollar denominated, could be commodity backed, could be local currency backed, set up a message system. They could just be completely outside the dollar system.
Very interesting. And we just have 30 seconds, but does all of this mean that gold comes out the winner, it sounds like?
There's no question about it, or, I like to say gold is constant, everything else is the loser. But yes, short answer is the dollar price of gold will go up significantly. Gold will perform well relative to all currencies because, as you showed in your graphic, all the major central banks are printing like crazy. So, there may be leads and lags and noise in the crossrate, but gold is going to go way up.
Well, I have to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
It's
you.
always so nice.